Hello everyone, this will be the start of a new series I'm starting on this channel where I watch a Pokemon Regional Championship streamed match so that I can learn from it as well as so I can provide my own commentary. This is a fun idea that I had for a new type of series on this channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Purple Mawile, and traditionally I make weekly videos every Wednesday. And this series will not replace those weekly videos, unless if that specific week I'm just ultra busy and I can't really get out my usual edited video for that week in time. So that is the case this week. I will be doing this to replace my weekly Wednesday video, but traditionally these types of regional reaction videos, which I'm not exactly sure what I'll call the series, it might just be regional reacts, we'll see. But they'll usually be published the Monday after the regional or whatever the tournament is, like international special event, world championships, the Monday after the finals happen. And this one is a pretty cool one, right? This is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We have not moved to Pokemon Champions yet on the official competitive circuits. We are still on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which also means we are still using restricted legendaries. On this channel, we've been using Pokemon Champions with Regulation M-A, so this is, different. We have to, get used to, and so we're still having Knockoff and U-Turn, and, there being a ton more items like Assault Vest and Choice Band and Rocky Helmet, and then there's also, of course, restricted legendaries in this specific particular format, because this is Regulation I. It allows the use of 2 restricted legendaries. And then, of course, the biggest difference, instead of Mega Evolutions, we have, excuse me again, we have Terra types. So those are the main differences that we have to get used to here. This is going to be the Utrecht, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Utrecht Regional Championships. This is the finals with Aurélien, Soula versus Markl. I hope I'm saying their names correctly. I'm not good with foreign pronunciations, so I apologize. But we got I have their teams up here on Report Worm, but I'll also put them on screen because they list their the teams before the match starts. Let me just put myself on the other side of the screen really quickly. Yeah, this is Aurélien Sola's team with Zamazenta Miraidon. It's pretty funny because Zamazenta was the most used restricted legendary going into this regional championship. I'm unsure if it was day 1 or day 2, but I do know within one of those it was over 50%. It had an over 50% usage rate, on teams, which is comically absurd, by the way. And it is also kind of poetic because at the end of Sword and Shield, when competitive circuits started happening in real life again, and the restricted format had started up, Zacian was easily the most used restricted legendary, and Zamazenta kind of honors her sister in that regard, as it is also the most used regional it is the most used restricted legendary going into the end of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is quite, as I said, it's quite poetic. I quite adore that. Zamazenta here has a pretty traditional set, at least from what I've seen. Some Zamazenta, okay, that's another thing. I might have said this earlier, I forget, but I am more knowledge in Regulation M-A right now. I dabbled a little bit in Regulation I a little bit ago, but I don't know much about the format as it stands, so I hope you do forgive me for not knowing all the metas and stuff like that off the top of my head. I do know that some Zamazenta have been dropping Heavy Slam for Behemoth Bash, which is its signature move. But this one is a standard Heavy Slam Wide Guard Body Press set. Of course, all Zamazenta will be running Body Press because, it's a defensive Pokemon. With a Rusted Shield item that uses to transform. And then the Miraidon as a secondary choice of restricted. And from what I've seen, I haven't seen a ton of Regulation I, so forgive me if this is incorrect. From what I've seen, Miraidon with Choice Scarf is a lot more popular in Regulation I compared to other events. Regulation G, you'll see a lot of Choice Specs Miraidon with Terra Fairy, with Dazzling Gleam, and it just outputs so much damage. But on Regulation I, considering especially this team that is less focused on electric terrain, less focused on future Pokemon, more focused on just damage output, Terra Electric, Electro Drift, Draco Meteor Snarl, and Volt Switch makes a lot of sense. Choice Scarf also allows it to outspeed Shadow Rider, which usually aren't running speed boosting items. as well as Koraidon, which is another Pokemon that threatens it. Electro Drift, crazy damage. Draco Meteor, also crazy damage. Volt Switch allows it to swap out, so it won't get locked into a move after using Choice Scarf. And Snarl, which is the difference between Reg G Miraidon and Reg I Miraidon. Snarl is a different spread move that is more of a utility option. And I really like Snarl on Miraidon here. It's a really fun choice. We have Incineroar with Assault Vest, with Fake Out, U-Turn, Flare Blitz, and Knockoff. Funny how it lost 2 of those moves going into Champions, as well as the Assault Vest. It's very funny. The interesting thing about this Incineroar is that it's Terra Water. I mean, again, I don't know much about this format, so forgive me if this is wrong. I've never seen Terra Water Incineroar before. It does, of course, resist water, but like I traditionally expect Incineroar to be Terra Bug to resist ground and fighting, or Terra Ghost to be immune to Fake Out, as well as trapping effects. So that's what I expect, but Terra Water, I'm sure Aurélien has a... Again, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name incorrectly. I'm so sorry. I'm sure there's a team building choice there that like it was picked for. I'm not doubting that. I'm just curious at that choice. I can't immediately see it off the top. I can't immediately see the reasoning behind that choice when I look at this team from a surface level. So I'm very interested to know the reasoning behind that decision. Volcarona here, it's more of a this Volcarona is more of a supportive set with Rage Powder and Struggle Bug, with Flamethrower being its only like real damaging option. Also, Flame Body spreads like burns for physical attackers, so it makes sense. I quite like Volcarona as a supportive Pokemon here. And then of course at the very end we have Chien-Pao Dragonite as the traditional duo that has pretty much existed ever since Chien-Pao got introduced to the game, which it's so interesting. A lot of Chien-Pao recently have been running Assault Vest over Focus Sash, at least from what I've seen in Regulation I. In my opinion, Focus Sash just works better. And of course, this Chien-Pao also dropped Sucker Punch for Crunch, so guaranteed Dark type damage. Which is just an interesting choice. Chien-Pao is of course already a fast Pokemon, so the reasoning there is that like it might not have needed the priority compared to just guaranteed Crunch Dark type damage. Ice Crash for a strong move and Ice Shard for some priority. Not as much as Sucker Punch, but it's still some good. Ice Shard can still threaten, Focus Sash Pokemon, so it makes sense. And of course, that Sword of Ruin ability pairs very well with the Terra Normal Dragonites, with the Extreme Speed. Very, very traditional set. The way this Dragonite differs is because it doesn't even have a Dragon type move. It has Iron Head, Aqua Jet, Low Kick. It's a very interesting set. I personally like it a lot. I think it's a very cool set. Of course, because it has Choice Band, it can't get locked into a Dragon type move against the Fairy type. So, reasoning there might just be it's gonna be spamming Extreme Speed most of the time, anyways. But Aqua Jet, Iron Head, and Low Kick could come in handy in some situations as well. Low Kick, especially into like Pokemon like Zamazenta, for example. Anyways, let's move on to the next, the other finalist team here, Lewis Markl. If we can go over here, and let me just also move myself to the other side of the screen. Lewis Markl with a Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Zamazenta team. Of course, Zamazenta, most used restricted legendary in this tournament, and then Calyrex, in my opinion, Shadow Rider, one of the strongest restricteds in the format. Dropping the Focus Sash for the Life Orb for just that extra amount of damage, and on top of that also having Nasty Plot. So this is a fully offensive Calyrex Shadow Rider, whereas, at least from what I've seen, I have to emphasize, I don't know much about this format, so this could be wrong, but from what I've seen, I feel like most Calyrex like to have Focus Sash as like a line of defense, and no other Pokemon on this team is using Focus Sash, so, despite Focus Sash being available for Calyrex to grab, it prefers to have the Life Orb just to fully go lean in on the offense. It does allow Calyrex to be used more as like a glass cannon that just like spreads damage all over the place, and then you can come in later and clean up with Ogerpon, Zamazenta, even Urshifu. Yeah, it's cool. Incineroar here with dropping the Assault Vest so that Rillaboom can use it. Rillaboom has a pretty standard set with Terrifier, Fake Out, Grassy Glide, Wood Hammer, U-Turn, and then Incineroar doesn't have Flare Blitz, but instead it runs Helping Hand. Interesting choice. I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool. You already have Fire type damage from Ogerpon, Heartflame, Mask, so it does make sense that you might not want the Flare Blitz damage as much, and knockoff is just great utility. There's a reason why Incineroar losing it was kind of a big deal, of course, and this one also has a more standard Terra Ghost compared to the Terra Water that Aurélien was running. So, you know, generally more standard. Just Helping Hand was the, you know, Helping Hand is the highlight on Incineroar. I'm stuttering over my words. I am very sorry. One second. Urshifu. This is another standard set from what I can recall, at least from my time in Regulation F, with Close Combat, U-Turn, Surging Strikes, and Aqua Jet with that Choice Scarf. Very strong Pokemon. Ogerpon, as far as I can tell, is also another standard set. Yeah, I mean, overall, standard choices. The Zamazenta also is identical to Aurélien's Zamazenta, with the minor difference of Zamazenta from Lewis having Terra Dragon, while Aurelian's had Terra Fairy, which is an interesting you know, combination. And the Terra Fairy on Aurelian's Zamazenta makes it weak to Heavy Slam. That's the main reason why Zamazenta traditionally run Terra Dragon. So that's just an interesting choice. It could potentially come up in this matchup. I'd like to. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I am going into this. I am going into this matchup blind. I have no idea who won. I haven't watched this regional yet, so I'm going into this fully blind. Is what I'm basically trying to say, and I'm very excited. It looks like it's gonna be fun. And here it is. Here it's starting with Lewis's Calyrex Shadow Rider and Incineroar with Zamazenta and Miraidon on the other side. So dual restrictors from Aurélien. I'm struggling so much to say that name. I'm so sorry. And then Incineroar and Calyrex Shadow Rider from Lois. I already said that. Intimidate is not gonna matter too much for Zamazenta, who uses its defense stat mainly. The Snarl is going to weaken that Calyrex Shadow Rider. It's also gonna be 4 times super effective, so it's very interesting. And if I saw that correctly, yeah, okay, so the Miraidon tried to go for the Volt Switch into the Calyrex, I'm pretty sure. Sorry. It tried to go for the Snarl, but the Fake Out blocks the Snarl. So it's still going to take this Heavy Slam from this Zamazenta, but it's not going to do nearly as much damage thanks to that attack drop. Miraidon still has the option to go for the Snarl here. Because of the Choice Scarf, it has the ability to, without needing to worry about being outsped. Of course, the Calyrex could just protect, but important to remember, Incineroar doesn't have Flare Blitz, but it does have knockoff, so it can knock off the Choice Scarf to prevent the Snarl from hitting it the next turn. And I think that is what we're going to see happen here. Of course, Incineroar will shrug off the Snarl, as it does not really care about its special attack, and the Body Press goes into the Incineroar. I feel like Lewis wanted to go for that knockoff, but it unfortunately won't get the chance to, as it just feigns to a Body Press, which doesn't get reduced by the Intimidate. So Incineroar immediately down, and this Calyrex is looking in a pretty rough spot. It got off a nasty plot, but you know, it's pretty susceptible to Snarl right now, except Rillaboom comes in. Rillaboom is, of course, has Fake House Pressure active right now. But interestingly enough, actually, Zamazenta just goes for the Wide Guard, so Miraidon swaps out, but also Aurélien goes for the Wide Guard. So basically saying, if you go for Astral Barrage, you'll do nothing. If you go for Psychic into my Miraidon, which is what you're threatening, it'll also do nothing. Fake Out, of course, goes into Chienpao, which does break its Focus Sash, but I think that switch was well worth it. But the Psychic actually just goes into Zamazenta. This is going to do crazy damage, lives on 1 HP. The invisible Focus Sash. That is so cool. That is so cool. As I said, I love stream matches. That's so much fun. Ice Shard is going to go into the Rillaboom, and another Wide Guard from the Zamazenta. Yeah, I mean, another Astral Barrage is pretty free here from Calyrex. It's going to get the knockout on Zamazenta. If Wide Guard threats, if the threats of Wide Guard wasn't active, Astral Barrage would be really effective here. But of course, Wide Guard is still active, so more likely than not, Psychic is just gonna come out into Zamazenta again. Honestly, okay, withdrawing. Okay, I was like considering maybe Grassy Glide into the Zamazenta, but Wide Guard would still be active on Chienpao. And of course, Chien-Pao is immune to Psychic, so it doesn't do anything. So instead, Lewis just swaps out Rillaboom to have Fake Out Pressure again later, and brings back in the Orpworm, Ogerpon. Of course, because of Wide Guard, Calyrex is forced to go for a Psychic. I said something weird earlier about like having a free Astral Barrage. I completely forgot about Wide Guard. Does get the Grimnade boost. It's at +3 right now, which is quite scary. And Icicle Crash comes out from the Chien-Pao goes into Ogerpon. Does over half of its HP. Of course, Icicle Crash, I'm pretty sure, does have that chance to miss. So, I mean, that's really good damage, honestly. Even though Aurélien has lost Zamazenta, I mean, it's important to also recognize Lewis doesn't have their second restricted. They left behind Zamazenta in favor of just using Calyrex Shadow Rider. So, you know, even though Aurélien lost Zamazenta, Lewis doesn't have a second restricted. You do still have to be careful for this Ogerpon and Rillaboom, who are very strong together. So, it's not over yet. But I feel like Aurélien has the lead currently, at least. The Hadron Engine overwrites the electric terrain that Rillaboom set up, which prevents, you know, Ogerpon from going for Grassy Glide, but I don't think it really wants to go for that anyway. In the face of Chien-Pao and Miraidon, at least. You know, Crunch, you're threatening a Crunch into the Calyrex, but Calyrex is just gonna protect. So Chien-Pao just goes for a protect to protect it from, you know, going down. I don't recall if it had its Focus Sash still broken, considering the grassy terrain is now gone. Oh, okay, so everyone just protects except for Miraidon, which just goes for a Snarl, which just gives Aurélien a very free secondary chance to go for another Snarl. So, I mean, I feel like this next turn, even though the turn wasn't super flashy, it set up, ooh, okay. It sets up this next turn really well. What I see here, they're gonna go for the Stellar boosted Ice Shard, which is priority, because Rillaboom's likely coming in here to override the Hadron Engine, which means that Snarl won't be as strong. Yeah, so the Hadron Engine is going to get overwritten. If Calyrex gets to double protect here, I mean, it's going to be in a very great spot going into this next turn, but I have a feeling, I mean, it's a 2/3 chance for Aurélien to pretty much win this on the spot. Okay, so to avoid having the 4 times damage, of course, it's very smart to go for the Terrestrialization into the pure Dark type, you know, so you're not weak to Snarl, 4 times weak to Snarl anymore. Makes sense. Ice Shard is still going to do a good amount of damage, though, especially with the Stellar Terra boost on top of on top of it. So, I mean, yeah, this is going to be a very explosive turn. The last turn wasn't as flashy, but it set up this turn to be quite explosive. Let's see how it pans out. Let's see, is it a double protect? No attempt at a double protect at all. Lewis is confident that Lewis is confident that the Calyrex will live, but I don't know. It does actually live on such little HP. It's gonna get a chance to go for a +2 Astral Barrage here. Fails to get the knockout. If it had been any other move that wasn't Snarl, it would have gotten the knockout on that Calyrex. Unfortunately, the Snarl fails to pick up the KO, and because Calyrex was at +3, Snarl just brings it back down to +2. So yeah, that's a knockout. That's a big knockout, and you know, it brings up Calyrex to +4, but of course the Life Orb take does get the knockout on it. So it's gonna be Rillaboom and Ogerpon versus Aurélien's last Pokemon, which I don't actually recall what it was. It was Dragonite. Okay, so Chien-Pao isn't on the field anymore to, you know, let Dragonite go for a Terra Normal sort of Ruin boosted extreme speeds. I have to see. Dragonite has Inner Focus. Okay, so Inner Focus, yeah, so it's not multi-scale, so Fake Out isn't pressing to like take away that like defensive aspect. So I mean, you can't even go for Terra Normal anymore, which, you know, sucks. So I actually I was looking at the team sheet to see what Dragonite had as its ability. Ogerpon just goes for a Spiky Shield, predicting that Dragonite would go into it, and it did use Extreme Speed into Ogerpon. That's probably what I would have done in that position too, even though Spiky Shield was threatening damage there. Rillaboom just goes for the Wood Hammer. Okay, good. Actually, not as much damage as I would have thought. I mean, it is a resisted hit, but Rillaboom is also a very strong Pokemon. You cannot underestimate it. Just puts you know, recoil tick onto Rillaboom. Here's the thing: the grassy terrain won't be healing this Dragonite because it is not touching the ground thanks to its flying typing. So, you know, this is, yeah, Choice Band boosted extreme speed just gets a knockout on Ogerpon. So this is gonna be a 1v1 versus Rillaboom. Despite that amazing turn from Lewis with a Terra Dark, it might still come down to the wire because Woodhammer is not doing enough damage. Rillaboom does have the grassy terrain healing on its side, but I mean, we'll have to see how much this extreme speed does into it, you know? There's nothing to do now, but yeah, no, there's no... despite that last turn with Calyrex Shadow Rider, I have a feeling that Aurélien is going to be the one to pick up game 1. I have a really bad feeling that I'm still mispronouncing the name, so after this game I'm going to search up how it pronounces. Rillaboom actually lives with very little HP, but the recoil is probably going to take it out here, if I were to predict anything. Yeah, maybe if there was a chance like Grassy Glide brought down to Grassy Glide range, but just judging based on how much Woodhammer did, I doubt that it would have been knocked out to a Grassy Glide from 28 HP. So yeah, game 1 goes to Aurélien. I'm gonna quickly see how that name is supposed to be pronounced. I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. It's pronounced Aurélien. I'm pretty sure. Aurélien. And their last name is pronounced Soula. Soula, not Sola. So, oops. But I did check. I think we should be good now. It's I forgot already. I just checked. I forgot how to pronounce it already. Aurélien Soula. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. They take game 1, of course. Here we go. Immediately, the leads are the same from Lewis. It's going to be Incineroar and Calyrex, but for our first player here, it's going to be Incineroar and Miraidon. Alright, so Aurélien just changed up their lead actually, despite the fact that Zamazenta Miraidon worked for them the first time. Lois is pressuring Fake Out plus Nasty Plot just like the first game, but of course Aurélien has Fake Out of their own. Shockingly enough, so I was gonna say, if Aurélien knows that their Incineroar is faster, they could go for the Fake Out of their own into the opposing Incineroar. Actually, this is just gonna be swapped to Rillaboom, protect from Calyrex, right? Yeah. So next turn, Lewis is gonna have Fake Out pressure versus this Miraidon that's just gonna go for a Snarl, but actually it's going to be an Electro Drift. I completely missed that when the move was selected. So in actuality, so Lewis predicts the Fake Out plus Snarl. That's what I would have probably gone for too, and I just would have been in a terrible spot turn 2. They just go for the U-turn plus Electro Drift. So even though this next turn, Miraidon isn't threatening a Snarl into Calyrex anymore. Like it's still a pretty tough spot for Lewis, because like it's gonna take either a Heavy Slam or an Electro Drift from this Miraidon, and Fake Out, Rillaboom can only protect it from one of them, and it of course doesn't have a safe protect anymore. So like yeah, so it just opts to go for the Fake Out because that Electro Drift almost certainly would knock out the you know, the Calyrex on just immediately. Had it gone the chance to go for the Electro Drift, I think that's what I would have gone for too. That's what I probably would have gone for too if I was Lewis. Heavy Slam just goes into the Calyrex's a good amount of damage, all things considered. And I mean, this next turn, that Astral Barrage did a ton of damage, but you know, Electro Drift is gonna take out this Calyrex like immediately, you know. So it's not like an amazing spot going into this next turn. Zamazenta just swaps out, threatening Wide Guard. Lewis, also another thing, Lewis calls out that Aurélien won't go for the Wide Guard instead, you know, knowing that they want damage into the Calyrex. Calyrex just protects here. I wouldn't be shocked that this was U-turn from Rillaboom. just blocking another Electro Drift from this Miraidon. It's gone for 3 this game so far, and it's only gotten a chance to fire off 2 of them, and yeah, just U-turn from the Rillaboom. So Fake Out is active this next turn. It's the same position as turn 1, except Calyrex no longer has a free Protect. It's the same position as turn 1. Which Incineroar is faster? Who knows? I honestly, I mean, just judging by the like sets, I mean, I don't know. It is unfortunately gonna just be it is going to be Lewis's Fake Out going first, but Aurélien doesn't even go for the Fake Out, so it's just gonna be a Natural Barrage into Incineroar Miraidon. Takes the knockout Miraidon, does pretty much nothing this game. Didn't get much great use out of it, of course, aside from threatening you know, one-hit knockouts on this Calyrex, forcing it to play defensively, but this Flare Blitz doesn't get the knockout on the Calyrex, missing it out on 1 HP after, before the Grassy Terrain healing. That is terrible. That is terrible. Had that been knockoff, that would have been a knockout. I think I would have gone for knockoff in that position. I mean, it would knock off the Life Orb. I mean, it would have knocked out the Life Orb, so it wouldn't have been great. But it, like, if it tears the Dark, that's still gonna like cut part of its damage source, and Flare Blitz wouldn't have gone to knockout anyways. So yeah, Calyrex just goes for the Protect here because, you know, it is being threatened by an Aqua Jet from this Dragonite. No Chien-Pao this game, by the way, opting for Incineroar. So that means that this, you know, Terra Normal extreme speed play that you would traditionally want to go for with Dragonite, you can't do that right now. I mean, you can do that, but it won't be to its fullest potential with Chien-Pao Sword of Ruin. Ogerpon comes in, takes the U-turn pretty handily. Yeah, this next turn, Zamazenta is gonna come in. It's gonna be, you know, you're gonna have to respect Wide Guard, which means I have a feeling, this Calyrex is gonna want to just swap out. Lewis brings the same 4 Pokemon to game 2, by the way, opting to not bring their second restricted in Zamazenta, which is really interesting to me, because if if Aurélien Zamazenta ever terrestrializes, you know, it's gonna, Heavy Slam, that's gonna be pretty good, you know. But yeah, I didn't actually see what, I'm not paying attention to what, like, the actual moves the player clicks. I'm just watching the actual cutscenes. Opting to swap out Dragonite for Incineroar to get rid of the Intimidate drop, of course. Also getting Intimidate onto the opposing Ogerpon. And let's see what this, okay, so no, okay. So just to protect from Zamazenta, Ogerpon's Follow Me, of course, redirects the chances of an Aqua Jet or a move from Zamazenta, knocking out the Calyrex. This next turn, Incineroar can go for a Fake Out into Ogerpon, and Zamazenta can go for a guaranteed attack into Calyrex. Of course, before it can also protect, but predicting the protect, Aurélien could just go for the swap to Dragonite to have Aqua Jet pressure back on the field. I feel like that's not what they're gonna go for, though. Unfortunately, I'm paying attention to UI now. It's looking like they're just gonna go for a Wide Guard plus a move into Calyrex, I presume. I mean, I feel like I just feel like the Follow Me from Ogerpon so, like, free here that, like, faking it out and then doing damage into. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so okay. So the Calyrex doesn't actually go for a Protect here, which means, yeah, okay, and also protecting the Wide Guard. Very interesting plays here. As long as it gets brought down to almost 7 HP, it almost gets knocked out that turn, and the Life Orb tick does just knock out the Calyrex. That was such an interesting turn. And Incineroar is gonna take the Spiky Shield chip here. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, U-turn is a contact move. That's so interesting. Okay. The reason I'm so, like, befuddled, the reason I'm so, like, gobsmacked, like, that's just not the play that I would have expected at all. Like, what was Lewis trying to cover there? I'm thinking. I mean, Psychic into Zamazenta is guaranteed because it did protect the previous turn. I guess that is fair. And then Astral Barrage, like, Astral Barrage would have done less to Zamazenta anyways, and like the damage on Incineroar is not important. But yeah, Rillaboom just comes in here, threatening a fake out onto either Pokemon really. Yep, Incineroar swaps out to get fake out pressure back again when it comes in next, and Dragonite comes in. Dragonite's gonna need to do some heavy lifting here, and Grassy Glide just knocks out. Okay, so not even fake out. I mean, I respect it. Interesting. I mean, I guess it didn't really matter which one they went for. And Ivy Cudgel goes into the Dragonite. This is gonna be resisted, but that still does about a 6 of the health bar. I mean, that's not bad damage, all things considered. And Aurélien is brought down to the last two Pokemon with Incineroar and Dragonite. Gets a pretty nice Intimidate onto both opposing Pokemon, and does have Fake Out Pressure this next turn available. But of course, Lewis still has a third Pokemon, which means they can always swap out, and then not only get Fake Out Pressure back, but also clear the Intimidate, and also just Intimidate onto both Aurélien Pokemon. They don't swap out this turn though. Goes for the Extreme Speed into Rillaboom, does most of its HP, and Incineroar. Okay, will Incineroar go down to this? It will. Okay, so the duel up of Ivy Cudgel and Woodhammer, despite them both being not very effective attacks, does get the knockout on Incineroar, ignoring the Dragonite completely, and now it's just a 1 versus 3, and it's looking kind of doomed for Aurélien, honestly. Its Extreme Speed, okay, predicts the Ogerpon to not Spiky Shield, but I mean, just spamming Ivy Cudgel. They're -1 Ivy Cudgel and Woodhammers though, so I wonder, has Aurélien Terra'd yet? I'm thinking about have they Terra'd? I feel like Terra normal here is just amazing because you can also get Grassy. Yeah, they can just Terra. What's stopping them from I mean, I guess resisting Woodhammer. Yeah, resisting Woodhammer and Ivy Cudgel. I guess that's what's keeping them in the game, resisting those big moves, especially because Rillaboom and Ogerpon are still at -1. I feel like at some point you're gonna have to Terrasilize to normal and then just start dishing damage. Ogerpon just goes for a Spiky Shield. Still no swaps, by the way. And Extreme Speed unfortunately goes into the Spiky Shield. So this is gonna be a free Woodhammer from Rillaboom. I'm serious, and it's just gonna be U-turn. Okay, it's not even a Woodhammer; it's a U-turn to bring in Incineroar to have a Fake Out chip. It's gonna be a free Ivy Cudgel the next turn from the Ogerpon. Yeah, I'm seriously wondering if Terra Normal is the way to go here. To try to... Oh, I completely forgot that this Dragonite was in their focus. I'm gonna be so real. I completely forgot. Goes for the Terra Normal. I mean, that's pretty much all you can do at this point, right? Actually, I feel like I would have delayed the Terrasalization just one more turn, because Ivy Cudgel will be a resisted attack. Unless if Lewis for some reason doesn't Fake Out into Dragonite, then Extreme Speed, just gets a knockout on Ogerpon from here, but it does. Okay! Hello, Judge? Gets a knockout on Ogerpon. Surely not. What's this Incineroar going for? It's just a knockout to get rid. Okay, never mind. Does just get the knockout on Dragonite to because of knockoff's boosted power with the item. Okay, I mean, I guess that's a pretty fair move. I feel like Ivy Cudgel plus. No, because you can't call whether they're gonna Terra or not. You can't call if they're gonna Terra or not. So just knockoff is just a lot more safe than going for a Fake Out play, you know. Yeah, and Lewis Markl takes the second game win, bringing this Masters Finals down to a Game 3 decider, which is very exciting. That last game I was so locked in. I just I don't know. I was kind of shocked that. I mean, I was fully expecting the Fake Out, right? I was wondering, is there an actual way that this Dragonite is gonna take home the win? There wasn't, unfortunately. And also, again, the lack of Chanpao at that end game was just really interesting to me. Preferring to bring in Incineroar instead. So, I wonder if there's gonna be any new adjustments from Aurélien. That adjustment to the Miraidon Incineroar lead didn't seem that helpful. I mean, it did have the mind game of like fake out or no fake outs, but Lewis played played around that mind game really effectively. I've been talking so much, my mouth is tired. Okay, we're starting into game 3 here. They lead Zamazenta, Zamazenta Calyrex for the first time, and then going back to the Miraidon Zamazenta lead from Aurélien. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, first time Lewis is leading this entire set. I mean, okay. Because here's the thing. Snarl gets blocked by Wide Guard from Zamazenta, so you can't really go for Snarl that safely, but of course Electro Drift is equally threatening into this non-focus sash Calyrex Shadow Rider. I mean, I haven't done the calcs again, I have not played Regulation I, so I do not know, but surely a Electro Drift boosted with the Hadron engine will just get the knockout on a Calyrex Shadow Rider. But Lewis just goes for a double protect to scout out what this Miraidon locks into. If it's Snarl, then you can Wide Guard. If it's not Snarl, then you can do something else next turn. Pardon me, very safe move, love it. And I'm pretty sure that was Body Press from Aurelian's Shiny Zamazenta going into the opponent Lewis's regular Zamazenta. Terra Fairy into... Okay. Is that what they're gonna go for? Electro Drift plus Terra Fairy Heavy Slam. Okay. And the Calyrex just swaps out. Being threatened by the Electro Drift just brings in... Okay. I would be kind of shocked here if the opposing Zamazenta goes for Heavy Slam into Aurelian's Zamazenta. It'd be very hype, but there's like no way, right? Oh! Both Zamazentas Terrasilize here, actually. Okay! So it's going to be into Dragon typing. This also confirms that the opponent's Zamazenta is faster than our Zamazenta. I'm using that to avoid saying the names because I'm having a hard time saying the names. The opponent's Zamazenta is faster than our Zamazenta here. So Electro Drift, of course, it does go off into this Rillaboom. Not great damage, of course, with the Assault Vest lowering the damage of special attacks. Heavy Slam into Rillaboom almost takes it out. Does not go all the way. And I mean, now Aurélien is just in a really tough spot going into his next turn, right? Fake out plus heavy body press or heavy slam is just gonna do so much damage. Threatening heavy slam into, you know, the fairy type Zamazenta, that's gonna do a ton of damage. Aurélien not really fearing that, just going for the heavy slam again into Zamazenta. I feel like losing Zamazenta here would be very tough into like opponent's Calyrex, right? Like, I hope I'm not crazy for thinking that, because like, if Rillaboom just fake outs into, because like I feel like Rillaboom has a better like chance going into fake out into the fairy type Zamazenta and then heavy slamming into the same Zamazenta. I mean, I guess Zamazenta could protect. Just brings in Calyrex here. I wonder, is this Zamazenta gonna go for the heavy slam? It does not. It just goes for the body press, which is not very effective, into the flying type Dragonite, and a heavy slam goes into the Calyrex. Does over half of its HP before the grassy terrain healing. Gosh, oh my gosh. Pardon me. What a turn so far. Was that low kick into Zamazenta? It's just gonna be a low kick plus heavy slam, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't hate this play, it's just another body press. Ignoring the heavy slam into the fairy type Zamazenta, that honestly shocks me. I don't know, I mean, of course it can always protect, but like, I don't know, this looks like not even gonna do that much. Hello? Dragonite, do I know you? You're Choice Banded. Okay, how heavy is Zamazenta actually? Do I not? I don't know. Calyrex just gets swapped out because it's being threatened by Heavy Slam, of course. It wouldn't knock it out unless if it was like a critical hit or a high roll. Even then, I don't know if a high roll would have gotten all the way. No, just another body press. Gets a knockout. Was it a crit? It wasn't a crit. Just gets a knockout. Dragonite, one of the best offensive pieces from Aurelien's side, just knocked out. Heavy Slam into this Ogerpon. Gonna barely even do a quarter. I don't even know. This is looking like a very tough spot for Aurélien, and Of course, Qianpao was in the back, but it doesn't have its Dragonite buddy now. So, I mean, it's a 3v4. Of course, it's not over yet. Overrides the electric terrain. Overrides the grassy terrain in favor of electric terrain, but of course, Rillaboom can always swap in. I really don't know what to expect here. I mean, I feel like Calyrex... No, there's no way Calyrex swaps in, because, like, an electric jet from Rhydon would just knock it out, you know? There's no way. There's no way. What did Zamazenta go for? I didn't see what move it clicked. I feel like Body Press makes the most sense. Maybe the Ogerpon swaps out into Calyrex? I'm honestly not entirely sure what the correct choice here is specifically. What's it called? Ivy Cudgel from this Ogerpon could do a ton of damage into either one of Aurélien's restricted, but just opts to swap out. Zamazenta does have a chance to go for a Heavy Slam here into Aurélien Zamazenta. Overrides the grassy terrain. Okay, but it just goes for the Protect. Okay. Okay. The Draco Meteor. Oh right, I did. Okay, I thought it Electro Drifted into the Zamazenta. I missed that. It goes for the Draco Meteor. Of course, it gets blocked by the Protect. I didn't even realize that it was being threatened by the Draco Meteor. I missed that part. Because it has Terrestrialize into a Dragon type. Even though that did help it earlier in the round, it does make it weaker against this Miraidon, who is now locked into the Draco Meteor, which will progressively lower its stats. If it wants to get off another Draco Meteor, given that it connects, it's and Zamazenta just goes down next turn, you know, I mean, that's just gonna be very rough. Body Press into Ogerpon's kind of free, but like, okay, just goes for the Follow Me to prevent Draco Meteor. Surely this has to be Heavy Slam into the Zamazenta, right? Okay, Draco Meteor does get the knockout on Ogerpon. If Zamazenta goes down here, it's going to have a -2 special attack stat the rest of the game. Miraidon will be. But it's just another Body Press. Gets a knockout on Miraidon. Okay. Okay. Qianpao in this endgame is amazing. That does so much damage, dude. Oh my god. Okay, nice crit. Does help out a little bit. Qianpao with its Focus Sash enabled. This is a crazy endgame. Because, I mean, crunch into Calyrex and then another Body Press into Zamazenta is like free, right? I mean, yeah. What's really stopping it? Because of the Sword of Ruin, the Body Press should get the knockout on Zamazenta. Whatever the Zamazenta wants to go for, if it's not Protect, it probably will get knocked out by a Body Press if it wants to go for any other move into the Qianpao. You know, the Focus Sash will let it live, and then the Crunch will just get the Oko on Calyrex guaranteed because it can't Terrestrialize anymore. Of course, it can also Protect, but the Focus Sash lets it get around that somewhat. If the opposing Zamazenta attacks into Qianpao and Calyrex protects, Calyrex doesn't need Protect, you know, the next turn, Qianpao can still just crunch into it, you know? Though, yeah, it can easily crunch into it. The Calyrex is gonna need a double Protect here. And the Body Press should just get the knockout on Zamazenta here, right? Because of the Sword of Ruin. Okay. It was looking kind of rough, but Aurélien, I didn't even see Draco Meteor, dude. Somehow, like in that other turn, I didn't even see Draco Meteor, like that being an option. I'm kind of shocked. Crunch into Calyrex, it's not a guaranteed Protect anymore, but like, it should just be good. And Lewis forfeits. Okay. Aurélien gets the invite to Worlds, wins the regional championship for Utrecht. What an amazing Utrecht. What an amazing set. That was so much fun to watch, dude. I love that. Wow. Towards the end, I did miss the Draco Meteor being an option. I'm also shocked that the opponent's Zamazenta never went for Heavy Slam into Aurélien's Zamazenta. I am genuinely shocked at that. Yeah, and I also thought it was like for sure Lewis's game after which turn was it? Probably the turn that Miraidon went down, right? I mean, I feel like I had that feeling before. And it truly was anyone's game. Like Lewis could have easily pulled that up. But Aurélien just played amazingly. Like I feel like every time I was like, oh my god, Lewis surely has to get it now. Like Aurélien just played around it perfectly. Like had in my opinion, I feel like letting Miraidon stay on the field was preferable to knocking it out because it was at -2 special attack. I feel like it would have been better to let it stay on the field because this Draco Meteor is locked into Draco Meteor. It's not guaranteed to hit anymore. I mean, of course, the Zamazenta could have always protected, but like I wonder if Heavy Slam into Zamazenta would have been preferable there in that specific scenario. You have to wonder. You have to wonder. I also don't know if it would have knocked it out. I will admit I don't know if it would have knocked it out. I could do like a quick calculation here. See if it would have. I genuinely don't know. Okay, I'm looking into it right now. I have to remember that like Heavy Slam is not defense based, it's attack based. So I mean, I also don't know like the EVs of these Pokemon, but more likely than not that the Heavy Slam from into a Terra Fairy Zamazenta probably would not have even gotten half. Probably. I don't know. I might also be doing these calculations wrong. But like from what I'm seeing, like it would not have gone to knockout. So like anyways, really cool match. Loved it. That was so much fun to watch. Thank you so much for joining me throughout this little reaction watching the Masters finals for the Utrecht Regional Championships. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll try to do this after most regionals and most official tournaments, probably every international tournament, probably not every regional and special tournament, but I'll try to react to some that like stand out to me. I hope to see y'all next week and take care.